Winter is coming.
Might just be the cold.
Winter is coming.
It's cold outside.
You don't know cold.
Winter is coming for him.
It's either me or this cold, and it doesn't appear to be going anywhere.
And winter is coming.
You look cold, boys.
Tis a bit nippy.
Winter is coming. Winter is coming.
That's cold. Winter is coming.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cold.
It's cold and it's wet.
Winter is coming.
You're crying because you're cold?
You're a long way from home. And winter is coming.
I imagine you might be rather cold.
And winter is coming.
No, that's all right, I'm fine.
You're not. You're freezing.
And winter is officially here. That's right. It's the first Friday of the month, the coldest day of the month. And that's when Russ Winter returns to the Friday FARcast. And we're always happy to have him here and welcome him back. Before we do, I do have to take care of a little bit of business. And that is to, of course, tell you about our good friends over at Silver Botanicals. That's right. Silver Botanicals. Let me see here. We got the wrong screen up. So let me ditch this. Stop share. Try this one more time. Bring it back to me. We'll bring Russ on in a second. But let's do this. Silver Botanicals. There we go. And that should get us up to speed. Well, Russ will be a part of the spot. So Silver Botanicals has a new deal, and it is the Shine and Dine bundle, and you get 3 of their cutting edge toothpastes. Nanodent. And what is Nanodent? Let me just give you a brief rundown if you haven't seen this before. It's amazing stuff, right? It has hydroxyapatite, and hydroxyapatite in nano form gets into your teeth and remineralizes your teeth. It can replenish the material for natural tooth repair and conditioning. This is the leading edge science of tooth care and oral maintenance. Okay, not only that, but they use 99.99% nano silver, 20 parts per million. It's made with pure essential oils. It's always fluoride free. It is an airless pump, very easy to dispense. And it has some diatomaceous earth in there too, with a little bit of calcium carbonate to help you get the little creepy crawlies and scalies off your teeth as well. And it tastes great. All 3 flavors are great. I think orange chill might be my favorite, but they're all really, really good. And if you get this bundle, which is the Shine and Dime bundle, what you're going to get is you're going to get all 3 of these. That is a 3-month supply of toothpaste, by the way. You're going to get 32 ounces of the Silver Tongue Oral Care, which is their essential oil and nano silver oral rinse. And you get an uncirculated silver dime. And these are really, really cool. They make great little gifts. If you have grandkids and you want to turn them on to the idea of like real money, sound money, this would be a really fun little gift. Stick it in a card. They'll probably ask you what the hell it is, and then you're going to have to tell them. And it's a nice little talking point and history lesson. And you get all of it for $76.09, and you're on the clock. The offer ends on May 17th, and you're going to get free shipping. And I'm telling you, the free shipping alone is, especially with shipping rates going up, is a nice little deal here. This is 32 ounces of Silver Tongue Oral Care, and you're getting a discount of roughly $15 on the whole deal. So people have tried it, they love it, and I urge you to give it a try. And if you do this, I doubt you'll go back to regular toothpaste again. In fact, I'd almost guarantee it. So there you go, Silver Botanicals and the Shine and Dime bundle. All right, let's bring him on here. The man of the hour, Mr. Russell Winter.
I like that advertisement. That's really a good advertisement. I need some help on the oral hygiene front. My dentist and my dental hygienist just rail on me. I can't believe how hard they are on me. I go in every 4 months, so I'm pretty religious about my cleanings.
Yeah.
But they seem to expect you to just be flossing your teeth twice a day religiously.
Yeah.
Getting down in there in the right way. And it's just driving me crazy. Really driving me crazy.
Well, you're going to have to text me your address where you're at in Maryland, and
looking for shortcuts, because
I'll have our guys send you something.
I mean, the dentist threatened not to even treat me anymore if I came back in with, in their mind, dirty teeth.
Yep. So just text me your address. We'll send you a package.
Okay.
And, we'll hook you up. All right.
All right.
Let's see. We got a birthday today. T. Whitten, happy solar return, born on May Day. What a day to be born. May Day, the May Queen. This was the day, Russ. We're old enough now to remember this, but this was the day where if you watched the evening news, didn't matter if it was CBS or NBC or ABC, at the end, they'd always splice in about 2 minutes of the Soviet May Day parades. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they would wheel out all of their rockets and missiles and tanks. Yep. It was just like,
that's the whole Cold War experience. Exactly.
Look at how big our dicks are over here. Yeah. Right. That's what that was all about. I've got a theory that most of that stuff was fake. Right. They really, you're going to bring that huge fucking rocket missile. You're going to bring that all the way to Moscow. Right. It's probably just a, metal edifice that
paper mache of it.
Like that, right? But it was always they would always do it on May Day. It'd always be at the end of the evening news with Roger Mudd. Today, the Soviets celebrated May Day, their annual celebration.
Yeah, well, they'd also run regular clips of nuclear tests.
Right. We would get those. And the Russians apparently were quite generous with many of those tests because they.
I remember the days back when I was in grade school. They literally had drills where you got underneath your desk. We had 2 types of drills when I was growing up: atomic drills and tornado drills. The tornado drills kind of involved going to a different part of the school.
You were in tornado country.
Yeah, getting up against a wall there for protection.
We had earthquake drills in California.
Yeah. Was that under the desk?
The earthquake drills were suspiciously similar to any other natural disaster drill. And it always included crawling under your desk.
Yeah.
That was it. May Day is more ancient before the propaganda. Oh, yeah, of course. It is an ancient fertility day. Right? It is. And that's why they brought out the big missiles. That's why they brought out the big rockets. It was their state sanctioned version of May Day. My last name, my quote unquote Christian government name is Morris, Morris. A lot of people know this. And there's a dance called the
Morrice.
Morris.
Morris. Because my dad's actual official name is Morris. Morris Frederick.
Morris Frederick. So Morris means the dark one.
Yeah, he never used that name, but that was his official name.
Tex is better than Morris. I would agree with that. But they have this dance called the Morris dance, and it's basically like a maypole dance.
Well, the origin of Tex is, my dad moved to Texas and from Texas to California, and when he was 13 or 14.
Yeah.
And they started calling him Tex, but they called everybody from Texas or Oklahoma Tex.
Right.
It was just like a slang term.
I had an uncle from Texas. They called him Tex.
Yeah, it was actually a pejorative term in a lot of ways. But for some reason, it stuck with him throughout his life. It never left him. So it was given to him as a pejorative name when he was a teenager after he moved from Texas to California.
I think it's cool, though. Tex Winter's got a cool name ring to it. Like Tex Winter. It's like, it sounds like a character in a Western novel or something.
Except for, everybody at the time was a Texan in California, the Grapes of Wrath, Dust Bowl era.
Yeah, well, that's where my father's mother's family came from. They were like Arkies, Shreveport, Louisiana. They all came out to Southern California.
My dad had a very humble background. He was, in fact, when he got, I think when he got kind of wealthy and sort of successful, he felt kind of guilty about it.
Yeah,
as people that maybe are raised in poverty tend to be. He wasn't show offish at all, but his father died. My grandfather died on Christmas Day, 1932, when he was 11 years old.
Oh, wow.
And he died of sepsis, and he was down in the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, it was weird. He was down in the Gulf of Mexico fishing. And the story goes that he got finned by a swordfish and caught some kind of an infection. It just lingered on for like about a year, and then it got progressively worse because it didn't have antibiotics and decent medical care. And he died at 36 years old. Had four kids, including my dad.
That's a heavy load to bear at a young age.
Yeah, it is. And, my dad was kind of one of the younger siblings, but his mother had to pack him up and go to California to find work, and because it was during the Depression.
Right. I did a lot of research on that whole Dust Bowl era. I just thought the phenomena of it happening in some ways seemed very unnatural. Of course, I'm always interested in things that seem very unnatural, perhaps even intentional. And clearly they were over farming the land, and there's a lot of reasonable, sort of
soil conservation
metrics as to why it happened, right?
Well, they didn't practice soil conservation.
Right,
they didn't get
right.
The trees. They didn't break up the wind. The wind breaks.
That factors into it, right?
And that's really windy country, all up and down. The Texas, all the way up to Oklahoma,
Right.
Canada. Really windy country.
Factors into it,
Right.
But when you read the stories of the people who wind up migrating west, like they would get on trains, and these trains would be stopped near the border of California, and they would be met by a posse of men with guns and told these people to get off the trains and start walking back. Like, they were not into migration from Arkansas.
Yeah, not even Americans.
No, they were vehement. Stay the fuck out, right? And
because it kind of overwhelmed them. It really did. They didn't really have it was during the Depression. They didn't have the social system set up for these people.
Yeah,
and they showed up, and my dad's family lived in Compton,
Yeah,
which is now
Compton used to be white before it became black, and it's not even black anymore. It's mostly Hispanic.
Yeah, my dad drove me by their old house one time, and it was just a totally black neighborhood. It was like in the 1980s. Now it's apparently Hispanic.
It's Hispanic, yeah. A lot of those Dust Bowl families wound up settling in Central California, and they were able to farm that Central California land. And Central California became one of the great food producers of the world due to the fact that these people actually wound up like hanging out in Central California, right? So, I mean, ultimately they made a significant contribution to the state itself. A lot of them like moved into places like Downey and other areas around LA. So yeah, it's a fascinating migration story, and one that was met at the border with a severe degree.
Well, they're also kind of the old Confederacy, Scotch-Irish old Confederate types.
Yeah, some of them. You got more of those kind of more in the like I don't know, Virginia, West Virginia area, right? Like that whole spine coming down through the Adirondacks. Like that's where a lot of the Northern Scots settled. But you do get some of that in the sort of the plains areas as well. Yeah, there's a really interesting study that was done on how the various conflicts of England, in England itself, like the English Civil War, and how these various groups in England wound up colonizing the Americas. It wasn't just one homogenized.
Definitely. Yeah, because you had your Puritans in Massachusetts, but you also had the Cavaliers, which was
Cavaliers in the South.
That was my dad's family too. They were Cavaliers. They fought for they were loyalists, fought for the king,
right,
against Cromwell.
Yep,
and effectively lost. And the story is that one of the Winters was there's a whole, if you look at the genealogy, the 23andMe data, they'll have you can actually look up where the Winter surname is concentrated in England. It's all like in Lincolnshire, kind of in northern England, which were hotbeds of loyalists.
Right.
And so some of them came over as loyalists, but they actually kind of end up intermarrying with the Scotch-Irish group.
The Scotch-Irish were weird. They were wild.
Yeah.
Like they were, they just wanted to do whatever the fuck they wanted to do. Like they were like the wahoos, right, of the whole bunch.
Yeah, when you read the history of them, you kind of look at them as kind of like, oh my, really? That's my ancestry.
Right. I mean, they were like the white trash.
Yes.
That settled, and then you had the Puritan group, which turned into like the Boston Blue Bloods, and that whole kind of liberal class, right? And then you had this other group that was from some of the more industrial towns like Sheffield and Birmingham and places like that. They actually settle around Pennsylvania, and they become very involved in like industrial production, right? And it's really fascinating how these four groups were very different, and they exercised the economy and their sort of political ideologies in very different kinds of ways.
Yeah, but then the fifth group too is the Scots. They're actually Scots. They're not Irish. It's kind of a misnomer.
Right. Right.
The
Scots are the ones that come down from. They like come down the Adirondacks.
But in Britain, what the story is on that, of course, is that I forget the King James, picked them up. And, they were Presbyterians. It says, let's just drop them in on these Irish, Northern Ireland today, Ulster.
Right.
Brought them over on boats and just dropped them in with these Catholics as a kind of a.
And these are the Northern Scots, which are different than the Southern Scots.
Well, no, some of them actually came from the West. So there's actually a very short crossing
Right.
I think that my families that were the Scotch Irish
Right.
came from that area, and they just dumped them off, and they didn't do very well in Ireland. They didn't like it. And then there was like three major waves. I think the first one was like 1690, 1720. Really, by the American Revolution, there was three major waves of Scotch Irish clearing out of Ulster and coming down the Appalachian and that whole
the
settlement pattern.
So that area that you're talking about, I've actually been to that area in Western Scotland. There's a little town called Oban, Oban, and you can take a ferry there to an island called Mull. It's like completely deforested. It's really weird. And then you take another ferry to an island called Iona. And Iona is really magical. And Iona is the first place where Christianity hits the British Isles. They have a very, very old Catholic monastery that was settled by the Irish on Iona. So that's the furthest point west that we're talking about in that place between Ireland and Scotland. It's a absolutely fascinating story. Thomas Sowell does a really good job of breaking down all these various groups if people are interested.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
So I'll just give you a quick update. You got a bit of a fan club out there.
Well, that's what you keep telling me.
Yeah. So I was in Arkansas the other day, and I was visiting with my son, and I was at his house, and his buddies were there. And one of his buddies came in and said, "Oh, hey, man, dig your show, watch your show." He said, "I love Russ Winter. He's great." Right. So you got a Gen Z fan. And then I had a very nice woman reach out to me, and she ordered a reading for her daughter. And she said, "By the way, I really love that Russ Winter. He tells it like it is." And so you've got him from both ends of the spectrum, right?
Yeah, I guess it pays off to be consistent, on a lot of this stuff.
Right. Like, like it or not, love him or leave him, you know where you're going to stand with Russ. So where are we standing today?
Well, I thought, we would kind of let's kind of skip over the war stuff. I think probably all of our listeners realize what a clusterfuck Trump's foreign policy is. I mean, that's just a given. There's probably no point in just, running that.
Before we drop off that, I do have a war-related question, and I think you are probably the right guy to ask. So, of course, there's this blockade that's happening, which is basically a siege at sea, right? So the idea here, along with, I guess, like 32 different monetary actions that Scott Bessent has taken, right? The idea is to choke off Iran, create inflation inside the country, cause civil unrest, and have the country implode from within because they're losing $400 million a day through the blockade. And so what we're dealing with here is kind of a standoff and a trial of endurance and who can outlast the other. What is your take on the strategy, and what do you think is going to happen in terms of how long, who blinks first, and is it? I'll leave out the right path stuff, but how long and who blinks first?
Well, cutting off Iranian oil actually affects the global market. It creates more shortages. It doesn't help the global price, so it hurts everybody, not just Iran.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Iran had a fairly large inventory at sea already that they're kind of running down. So they're still collecting oil revenues. One of the things I kind of saw, and that they're kind of sneaking a lot of tankers along the territorial waters of Pakistan and India and sending it there. But apparently that isn't amounting to much. That's the other thing to be said about it. As far as the blockade itself, it's piracy. You know, you're on the open seas. There's international laws protecting, say, China or India from going with a tanker and picking up oil at Iranian oil and shipping it off. And to intercept that is really a pretty big stretch. Pretty big stretch in terms of international law. And one possibility is that China or Iran might just put some Marines on board their ships for protection. And then the American Navy shows up and gets into an open fight with them. And China could bring their navy to bear to start escorting these ships. And that we haven't seen that happen yet, but that's a possibility. So it's a very aggressive, risky strategy.
So, by the way, I do agree with my guy, California Contrarian. All participants are in cahoots. I've been feeling that for a long time. But for the sake of the soap opera and the drama, we have to follow the plot line a little bit. Here's what I think. I think that Trump is going to give Iran a lot of money. How much? I don't know. He's going to give them a lot of money.
Buy them off. Try to buy them off.
He's going to buy them off.
Because really, China, Iran is being asked to, quote unquote, give up their nuclear material, which they've already signaled they're willing to do as long as they turn it over to Russia or somebody that's an ally and let Russia deal with their nuclear program as a partner. There's no way in terms of national pride that they're going to turn nuclear material over to the United States. No way. It can't happen.
Right.
So I think there is a solution to all this they just turn it over to the Russians and open up the straits and deal with the nuclear issue. They're certainly going to keep their missiles. They've got a great missile and drone program. They'd be crazy to give that up. So,
God, I saw this one breakdown of this guy. I hadn't seen him before, but this guy broke down their missile program in a way that was so granular. It was mind-blowing. And apparently a while ago, the Iranians captured an American drone, and they took that drone apart and they figured out everything about the drone, and not just the drone itself, but the operating system, everything. And they constructed their missiles and their drones to essentially be completely under the radar.
Yeah, at 1/20th the cost.
I mean, and they did it over like 2 decades. I'm thinking this is fast. So I think they're going to get paid off. I think that I think they're going to get probably control the straits. That's what I think.
Well, they just de facto control the straits. They can take control of the strait anytime they want. It's just a fact. You know, they have the missiles, they have the ways of stopping people. So it's totally at their
But they'll get it. And I think here's the angle, right? They're probably going to try to set up a toll payment through some form of digital currency. That's what I think. Because if they go full on dollar, right, and go with the petrodollar, it's like the U.S. wins.
Well, I think Iran's due reparations.
Well, that's what the payoff is going to be.
Yep.
Right. That's going to be the payoff. Like, that's the money they're going to get. And then this whole thing with the digital currency is going to be foundationally a part of the new reset, right? Just like the dollar became the petrodollar, whatever it is that they decide that they're going to exchange toll rates in, vis-a-vis whether it's Bitcoin or XL.
Yeah, well, the Saudis are already selling their oil in yuan to the China, so that's already happened. The petrodollar's shot. the markets are being totally rigged. They got a bunch of crooks and algorithms set up to try to inflate the market and keep it intact.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Real quick before we move on, because I know we're going to cover this White House movie theater. What do you think of these countries leaving OPEC and now not being constrained by the volume of oil that they can actually extract?
Well, they're limited on what they can produce right now. They have, so they need to produce everything they can. There should be there's no need for a cartel at the moment, because all these countries, Kuwait, that have been damaged, need to repair and just produce as much as they can to, restore everything. And same with Iran. So there's no reason for OPEC. So that's been broken up too.
Right. And do you think that the Trump administration takes that as a win?
I just think it's a reality. It's a real politics situation. But I don't think the Trump administration thought that the damage would be inflicted on the Gulf states' infrastructure the way it has been. They've completely miscalculated that.
I think they'll take it as a win. They'll take anything as a win.
They'll frame everything as a win because it's just chronic lying and bullshitting.
Yeah.
Whatever gets them out of the hot water, I get it.
They want to go digital currency, right? They want to get out of the old London banking money system, because the tech bros are all in on digital currency, right? And they're helping drive this war. And I think that's going to be the turning point in terms of how Iran can actually profit from running the straits, that they will agree to some form of digital currency.
Yeah, because they don't want to be paid in dollars.
Yes. Yeah, that's my sense right there. So, all right, we made it known. We made our predictions and of a ticker tape parade just in time for the new ballroom to open. And maybe that's a good transition for us to start talking about what the hell happened last week.
You're referring to what? This fake assassination attempt?
Yeah, exactly.
I got a few clips that we can look at on that.
All right, let's go.
Some of the latter ones that I sent to you. It's ridiculous. I followed false flags and stage deceptions for a long time, and this has got to rank in there as one of the stupidest ones you'll ever see.
Yeah.
First of all, the big event was on a completely different floor, where the supposed assassin made his entrance.
Where do you want to start? We got let's see.
Let's take a look at the canine dog sniffing situation. I just spotted that this morning. I thought that was interesting.
Okay. Is that the dog, Darth Pal. Okay, got it. All right, let's do that. There we go.
Take a look at this. This guy's got a canine dog. What a bizarre scene. This is just pure black magic. Everybody's going to look at this and going to go, huh?
Why does X want to charge me for shit now? Hold on.
Just to just to access your DMs.
Okay, so here we go. Let's take it from the top. Is there any audio here? All right, so we got set the scene up here. We got a dog here. Is that right?
I'm not sure if you're looking at the right clip, but you see back there on the upper left corner.
Yeah.
Maybe you're on the wrong clip. There's another one that shows it's labeled K9.
Hold on.
Near the bottom of the stuff I've been sending.
It says dog being suspicious of the correspondence.
Yep.
That's what I was on.
Okay, go ahead and play it. Maybe it shows it. It shows the guy entering a room, quote unquote room, some sort of mystery room. It seems odd that you would have an egress and exit right there at your area where you're searching people and stopping people, way up the upper left-hand corner.
So we're gonna be right up here. Let's. I like to slow these things down just a little bit, just so that we can take it in. So this is at half speed. Here we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Here comes.
All right. So this guy just calmly walks into this door. And if you notice, if you notice something else, it looks like AI because it looks like the door is closed, and yet he just kind of melds through the door mysteriously.
Let's watch that again. There's a little weird tweak there.
But why is he going in that door to begin with? And there's the guard with the dog, and the dog's sniffing him out, clearly. And the dog sees something, and then he comes back out the door running, and I call him Superfly. So he just calmly walks in there, somehow secures a weapon, either inside the door or carries it in the door under his coat, something like that. Something kind of ridiculous. And there he goes. And he just comes running out carrying a weapon. Now, catches all these guards completely by surprise. It just looked like the Keystone.
Why did they take this one down just before he decides to make a sprint? Right? Like, isn't that interesting? It's like, okay, we're gonna take
exactly. We're providing security here, so let's take this thing down. I guess maybe it didn't work or something, but I mean, what a weird security setup. And this door, the door, why would you even have that unlocked? Allow any kind of egress or exit from there. And allow somebody to go in there and then come back out.
These women make me feel real safe, by the way. Just let you know.
A couple of these Secret Service agents were involved in the fake
Butler
assassination attempt.
So here he goes.
Just like a flash. Look, he's not going anywhere. He's on completely the wrong floor. All kinds of shots are fired. Nobody got hit. And just caught these guys completely by surprise. They're sitting there, scratching their nuts.
All they need is some coffee and donuts.
And there's three of them lined up there on the wall.
Yeah.
Why aren't you positioned? Why aren't you positioned somewhere where you could actually block somebody? Or you've got a search thing right there, and it's just left unattended.
What's going on over here?
Where are you pointing?
Right, I'm pointing at this person.
Well, the one gal got a shot off. The one you could see the head. You can see her starting to move. She saw him. She's the only one that saw him. She's drawing her weapon. See that?
Right here?
Yeah, right below. You can see her arm circle right there.
Right.
She got a shot off on him. But nobody's even attending that little search thing. It just looks all so phony and black magic. It's kind of like, come on, let's just make up a scene that's just totally ridiculous. Makes no sense.
And this person starts running away. Like, no, don't you work for these people? Don't you want to run towards it?
This guy finally gets his gun out. This guy comes up behind from the wall, and they start shooting. They never hit him, but somehow they got him restrained and down on the floor. So there you go. That's pretty much it. That's what's been provided on this whole ridiculous episode. Got nowhere near any targets. Would have been a great target. There's all kinds of high-value people.
All right, let's back this up a bit just for a second, okay? let's start from here because I'll tell you why. Okay. If this guy is packing any kind of ammo, right?
The dog would get it, right?
The dog would sniff out the ammo.
Exactly.
So let's say, just for the sake of argument, that the weapon was left inside of this room.
Yep. And he could have assembled it, perhaps. But
Or
where's your security? You know, where's your security? You have this open room, and you don't have any security checking out this room. You just let a guy leave a unassembled weapon there, lying there to assemble.
Well, it depends on where it was. Right. You remember the scene in The Godfather where Michael goes to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And finds the gun and comes out and blows Sterling Hayden's brains out. Right. Like somebody could have left something there, because if he was actually packing, then the dog would have smelled it. Let me just say this. I have been through airport security, and one time I went to a gun range, right? And I wore a shirt from the gun range, and like it wasn't dirty or anything, and I didn't wash it, and I just decided to put it on one day, like I'm talking like 3 or 4 weeks later, and I get on a flight and they're picking up traces of that powder on my shirt, right? And these dogs are trained for this. So he has no trail of powder on him. So if he's getting a weapon, it's somewhere in this room.
Yeah, well, you got to check a room like that out because you've left it unlocked. So you need to be going back in there and look at it over. So either the Secret Service is completely letting down on the job, and there's been some accusations of that, including Melania Trump. She just says they're not really doing their job, need to clean them out. She wants to replace them. But that's not what I think happened. I think this is just a total staged, made-up event.
I was in Dallas the other day, and I was trying to track down a friend, and I was going off an address that was an old address, and I drove up and went to the door, and I started ringing the doorbell, and within a minute, some guy who was a neighbor down the street came up to me and asked me if he could help me, right? Because he thought I was like some nefarious dude, maybe wanting to case the place or whatever. I was just there to look for my friend. And that was just a regular old citizen, right? You would think that this guy would go into the restroom and say, "Hey, can I help you?"
Well, is that even a restroom? It's not really clear there's a restroom.
What this thing is, like, he seems very unfazed by his presence.
Now look at the wall. These people are supposed to be providing security for this whole area in front of this so-called search device, and you got 3 people just looking the other way. A 4th person on the ground. There's 5 people there you can see, and a 6th with his back turned. So nobody's paying attention to this area at all. Come on.
This
doesn't make any sense at all.
This person should lose their job. I mean,
all those people should lose their job.
I mean, it's like,
they're smoking. They're just basically smoking and joking.
And then she runs the other way. Did you see that?
Yeah. Run for your life. Exactly. Okay, let's go. There's another one I want to show you, and that's Trump hiding behind the curtain. What's that? What was that all about?
He's playing the Wizard of Oz.
Now listen to what he says.
Let's see. Which one is it?
T. Wisdom says, analyzing these sloppy false flags bores me. Yeah, it kind of bores me at this stage too. But we have to kind of look at it a little bit. But we can skip on to the main topic, which is the corruption, Trump corruption. But let's just take a quick look at the
which one. Which one is it under?
It is right above, fairly close to the bottom. It says, "Big brain Trump spotted lurking behind the curtain after assassination attempt." And right above that is a link to my article.
Oh, it's your art. There it is. Okay, got it. All right.
So yeah, we'll promise we'll kind of move on from this because it is boring.
Well, I'd never seen it before, so I've been on the road, and I'm glad I was able to take a look at that. Let's see. So there's the realization.
That's corruption.
Yep. There it is. Here we go.
Okay, so just play the clip of Trump describing his in his interview, admitting that he was just behind the curtain. So this thing has just happened. Trump has no idea what transpired. He hasn't really been given much information yet, other than that it was an incident. And you mean to tell me he's going to go behind a curtain and just sort of surveil the scene? Really? That they wouldn't just completely clear him out of there? It's not playing.
Oh, it's playing.
I also saw a lot of very strong, physically strong, really attractive law enforcement people come through those doors. And frankly, it made me feel very safe, very, very safe. There's nobody going to get by them. And this was at the very back of the ballroom, looking at the back of the ballroom.
The counter assault team that comes in.
Yeah, they were very impressive. I think they were very impressive.
How do you know? How do you know at that point? Come on, you don't know anything. After the fact, you might know, but you don't know anything at that moment. Why would you be behind the curtain? That makes no sense.
I love the fact that he talks about how great looking they were.
Yeah, this is typical Trump.
I want to see what was happening.
Performance.
You know, the president. In one way, I guess I should be hiding. In another way, I want to see if I can be helpful. But I did watch because I could see what was going on at the door. I also saw a lot of very strong, physically strong, really attractive law enforcement people come through.
It almost seems homoerotic. Sorry.
Well, you know, Trump, if you'd seen the clip of these people smoking and joking out there in the lobby, you might have a different opinion about what transpired, because that was atrocious.
And frankly,
nobody was paying any attention.
Very, very safe. There's nobody going to get by them. And this was at the very back of the ballroom, looking at the back of the ballroom.
The counter assault team that comes in.
They were very.
But he's right. Yeah, in a way, he's right. Nobody's going to get by all these guys to get into that ballroom.
Right.
You'd have to sneak in. You'd have to use a lot more subterfuge and trickery to get in there. But if he got in there with a bomb, man, that would have been a big assassination. They could have gotten a whole bunch of these high-value targets.
I just think it's really fascinating that in a time of crisis where people can be shot up, killed, right? He has the presence of mind to notice how attractive these service people were.
Yeah.
It's like, I only hire the best looking people. That's I wouldn't say that was really the case with those women up against the wall at the entrance, but that's a different story. I guess he didn't have to see them. And then he gets into, like, this is why we need the ballroom, right? Like, he uses this event as a pretext to get the ballroom built, because the ballroom, somebody had sued the government because there are actual protocols that you have to go through in order to get funding to build something like that. Like it literally has to be voted on by the House and the Senate, right? Trump just can't say, I'm going to level this part of the White House and build a new ballroom. He started to do that. And then a concerned citizen threw a major speed bump in the way and said, no, you can't do it. I mean, legally, it has to go through this process. Now, there's a loophole for that process if it is demonstrated that the building in question provides a better and more ample security solution than the building that is currently in place, then they can bypass Congress and the Senate advancing those funds and then bring the new construction in. And so what did Trump do immediately? He starts talking about, this is why we need the ballroom. Right.
Yeah.
And then everybody chimes in with their little mockingbird media on the governmental side, including Rand Paul,
right.
which blew my mind. Right. Like,
yeah. The other narrative is, of course, they come up with this left coast leftist, crazy leftist theme that they're running.
Right. That's all. That's the boogeyman. That is
it's probably true that there's some leftists that wouldn't mind having a crack at taking Trump out. That's a given, but to make a big deal about it,
I think it's a trope. I at this point, I think there are more disaffected people on the right that would want to take him out.
Probably,
to be honest with you.
Yeah, because the people on the right feel like they've been betrayed. That he's a traitor.
Totally. So then he replaces the architectural firm, right? And he gets this guy Baranes, and his whole architectural background is building and rebuilding synagogues.
Yeah.
That's the new architect.
So it's another big Jew contract for that leads us into the corruption part.
Well, there's another angle to this, right? Because I did a show in this, I think it was 2 days ago. When you look at the plans for the ballroom and you look at what was the layout of King Solomon's temple, they are very similar, right? So the idea here is that Trump isn't just building a ballroom, he's building the third temple. Like, that's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. And it's also interesting that when you look at the word ballroom, right? Ball is in ballroom, like
BAAL.
That's right. And then they say, well, there's going to be this new command control center underneath the ballroom, and it's going to have, all these facilities in case of emergency. And it's like, well, why the fuck do you need that? Like, the only reason you need that is if the plebes lose their minds and decide that they're going to revolt, right? And the target's Washington, D.C. And then
just build a safe room for them.
Just go down into your safe room. Exactly. Right. So
that actually makes sense, but they can build that without creating a big ballroom. And the ballroom,
they're getting a 2-for-1, right? They're getting the third temple, the ballroom, and then they get their like super swank command control, bug out shelter.
Yeah, the narrative afterwards was ridiculous too. So and then he just sits there. They take out JD Vance first, and then he just sits there, kind of looking bored. And then finally they drag him out, and then he falls down. Both Melania and Trump fall down on the way off the stage. But then he picks himself back up and
It doesn't
behind a
Cash
curtain.
doesn't Cash Patel like get an Uber or something afterwards?
I don't know about that, but he just
Like,
cowered and hid underneath
he
the
leaves,
table. I mean, I would too.
And he's
He
like
actually
he's on the street.
Cash Patel actually responded normally.
We lose it. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Cash Patel actually
Yeah.
responded normally. He got got underneath the table, put something over his head. But everybody else is acting weird.
You're cutting out a bit on me, Russ.
Okay, hang on just a second. Let me see if I've got anything on running in the background. No, it should be pretty clean.
All right. You're sounding better now. But yeah, Cash Patel just hanging out on the street, waiting for an Uber. I mean, this is the guy who is the head of the FBI. You would think he'd be walking around deploying an FBI team on the scene. No. He's gonna go into Georgetown and have a few
And then the looting of everything, all these people in there stealing the bottles of wine and finishing up their meal.
It's
Like,
really
are
an
they even
amazing it's an amazing commentary on kind of late stage capitalism, right? I mean, there's the taking of the bottles of wine, and it's like, hey, we're just going to get the fuck we can. Get out of here. Yeah. And then there's the Erica Kirk drama. Holy shit. Right? Like,
did I put the little satire on her on your? Did I send that to you?
Let me see. Oh man, that's like. And the crazy thing is, like, this is the first time Trump has ever been to that event.
And what's Erica Kirk even doing there? Exactly. Seriously,
what is she doing there? What is she doing? Like, even being the CEO of TPUSA, she's starting to get a lot of heat. A lot of heat. Where's the Erica Kirk one?
I'll send it to you. Yeah, go keep going, and I'll find it and send this to you. It's worth.
Yeah, she's really the tide. She had a period of time where she had like widow's grace, right? There's like widow's grace for Erica Kirk, and like she's run out of time on that front, and public opinion is turning on her in a very damning sort of way.
And then her people are okay. So on April 27th, on the Around the Webs, crisis actress Erica Kirk, I misspelled Erica, rehearses her cameo role at staged event.
All right, let me go to Around the Webs. That's on your website, right?
Right.
Okay.
And this is kind of funny. This gal does a good job of satire.
Let's see. Videos.
April 27, Around the Web.
Okay. Is that under which header is it under? News, crime, culture?
It's under Around the Webs. The Around the Webs are located near the bottom of the front page.
Okay.
And they don't have pictures on them, but I only have 2 a day, so you should be able to find the correct date pretty quickly.
Okay. All right, give me a sec here.
If not, I can send it to you in DM.
Hold on. All right, I'm almost there.
Okay, DM'd it to you.
Okay.
I think.
Let me go over there.
What did I send you?
I got the bull theory. That was the last thing you sent me. Hold on. We'll get there. All right. We got foreshadowing, word about authority dealing with pajama people, superfly gunman. We got suspicious, snake pit, the loot of Mexico.
Okay, well, that's the main articles around the web.
Got it. I got news and around the web.
Yeah, April 27th.
All right. And
the one above it is Neo Caligula waits impatiently for the assassin. Another satire.
Mm-hmm. You got a lot of Neo Caligula stuff here.
That's what I call him.
Yeah, that's about right. So the around the webs stop at April 28th. Is there like a more?
Yeah, you have to click on the header and it'll bring up more.
Yep. There we go. All right. Got it. And let's bring this up.
All right. I hope the wait was worth it. Probably is.
I'm sure it'll be. All right. Here we go. Okay, here it is. Crisis actress Erica Kirk rehearses her cameo role at staged event. Here we go.
You got this, Erica. You've got your line memorized. It's going to be awesome. Just wait for the camera. Okay, let's do some practice work. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. Stop. Okay. And scene. I want to go home. No, that's not it. Okay. I want to go home. No, try a different way. Okay. Where even is home? When was the last time you were there? You're getting too much into backstory. Okay, just focus. I want to go home. No, that's not it. Come on. I want to go home. That's it.
That was really good.
That was pretty much describes it.
I love, like, when was the last time you were home? Right.
Her little cameo appearance at the White House Correspondents' Dinner that she got invited to, I guess, by Trump. Really?
Yeah. Erica Kirk finally wants to go home for a minute. What is this? What is this false flag fatigue? Is this worth watching?
No, it's okay. Okay, but then right above that is, let's watch since you're around the web, right there, the same date is Caligula waiting for, looking at his watch, waiting for the assassin.
Okay, hold on.
Right above it.
Okay.
Right there, yeah. Top one, the top one. Okay. Yeah, right there. Don't look at her.
Is that Cheryl Hines? That's Cheryl Hines.
What the fuck is this Israeli magician talking about? Will he shut the fuck up already? Any minute now. Come on, I need this ballroom. Where's the damn assassin? Finally. Works every time.
Come on, Spider Cash. Now's your time to shine. Fuck, I can't do it. Not tonight. Not tonight.
Don't look at her. Do not look at her, Bobby. I'm finally free. This is it. Sweet freedom.
Butter chicken, tikka masala, biryani, naan, samosa, tandoori chicken, curry, dal vindaloo, palak paneer.
You're out of direction. Fake it if you don't belong. Fake it.
So this guy, obviously, this is AI, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But this guy was the magician that was on Joe Rogan that guessed his PIN number. Have you seen that?
No.
That's who this guy is.
Well, Trump was acting impatient. He even looked at his watch. That actually happened. So even though that's AI, it's what happened.
So, is this worth watching?
Yeah. And of course, his chief of staff gets up and goes, USA, USA, and nobody responded. You saw that, right?
Yeah. This is great. You should have built him a ballroom, you heartless, vicious bastards. Oh my God. That's hilarious. That's what's his name?
Leslie Nielsen.
Frank Drebin. Yeah. That is hilarious. AI is worth something, right? I mean, come on, it's giving us some comic relief here. There's BB backstage. It's and there's all the highly effective.
The latest Trump assassination attempt gets a 2-star IMDb rating for poor pacing and predictability. That's about right. That's about the way I look at it.
So, okay, so Trump always has to be first in something, right? He now has the most survived assassination attempts of any president in history. Do you know who he surpassed?
What, Roosevelt?
Gerald Ford.
Gerald Ford. Yeah, that's right. They were after him all the time.
Yeah.
Wonder why. Just a weird time. Like 74 to 77, 78 was just a weird time.
Very weird time. Squeaky Fromm. Squeaky Fromm, former Manson family member.
A lot of crazy people out during that period.
It was, that was right around the same time when Dan White went in and snuffed George Moscone and Harvey Milk in San Francisco and led to the rise of Dianne Feinstein as the mayor of San Francisco. That was wild. Jonestown was happening. Like Jonestown and the Harvey Milk thing all happened within the span of about 3 weeks.
Yeah, right? There's also the high point of, I don't know, high point's not the wrong word for it, the peak of the serial killer phenomenon.
It was right around there. And I've talked about this. I lived in California when all that shit was happening. Right. And it was crazy. I mean, you look back on it, it was like I would walk home from school and I would be kind of looking around the corner to see if the Zodiac killer was there. Right.
Yeah,
like
I was up in Seattle during that period. I've talked about that on shows, where Bundy was operating, and that was really something.
And if it wasn't that, it was the goddamn Black Panthers and having a shootout at the Marin Courthouse. Or if it wasn't that, it was Patty Hearst and the Symbionese Liberation Army robbing the Hibernia Bank. I mean, there was always something fucking weird going on in the Bay Area. And when it wasn't on in the Bay Area, Southern California had its own cup of weirdness. Right, you had the Manson
in the Pacific Northwest too, especially the serial killer category.
Yeah, you guys had the serial killers. We had the civil unrest mixed in with the occasional serial killer. Southern California, they had Richard Ramirez. Remember that guy?
Yeah,
like he was stalking the trails of the hills around Southern California. This guy was like a vampire. I mean, literally,
you had Randy Kraft. You had the Toolbox Killers in Southern California. You have, trying to think, it's just a bunch of them.
Then there's, of course, Altamont happens in 1969 with the Rolling Stones, and this concert goes real dark. You know, the security's run by the Hells Angels, and they kill this guy, Meredith Hunter, in the crowd. Like, they capture it on film and everything. And like, that's it. It's the end of the 60s. 60s are over, right? Peace, love. It ends in a gunshot at Altamont, right? All that shit was happening. It was crazy. And like, that's where I came of age. That I'm convinced that shaped my character for better or worse.
Now they just got it so these guys, they can't get away with it. I mean, there's so much security cameras and DNA, and they really kind of locked this kind of activity down, which is a good thing.
This is a little bit of a tangent here, but I think you might know a little something about this because it did happen sort of in your neck of the woods. You had the whole DB Cooper thing.
Right.
What do you think happened to him? Do you think he?
Well, I think they found his body. I think they found his body, didn't they, or not? I mean,
did they find his body?
I think they might have. I mean, there was a guy in Florida that they thought was him. That could have been him. He just got away with it.
I mean, there was that going on too. You get this guy hijacks a plane, gets.
I mean, how do you survive a jump out of a jet, even at lower altitude at night, going into heavily wooded, forested areas? You couldn't. No way.
Right. Like, good luck with that. It was just such a strange time. Really strange. I mean, we're in strange times now, but yeah. Anyway, do you want to get into the corruption stuff?
Yeah, you can see the stories. You can just pick them at random. We'll go through them. And a lot of it is also based on Trump's own words. Now, he let off this morning with a new one, kind of at the bottom of the page. And he's always getting testy with these reporters. And when he does get testy, his dementia starts to show.
That page does not exist anymore. That bull theory. Okay, hold on. This does exist. Let me put this up here, and maybe you can extrapolate on this a little bit. Skyline Builders.
Yeah, that's one.
So what's this all about?
Oh, it's Trump's sons. I mean, think about this now. They get a hold of this Skyline Builders, which is just a listing. It's not really a real company. It's kind of a shell company.
Yeah.
And then somehow they merge this with this Kazakhstan mining operation, pretty big mining operation in Kazakhstan, which is then given a $1.6 billion U.S. government contract.
So this is all insider stuff.
Yeah, they got a hold of, I think it was 20% of the company. I mean, that's just blatant insider. I mean, what's funny is they disclose their ownership, but then the trail afterwards is total corruption.
You know what else they do a lot in Kazakhstan, don't you?
What's that?
Bitcoin mining.
Right. Yeah. So that's probably one of the reasons Trump's sons are involved there too.
Yeah. Because this thing, there we go. All right. Trump's sons to take stake in Kazakh miner that won $1.6 billion in U.S.
They did it by merging a shell company into it.
By Donald Trump has agreed to merge with a critical minerals group that last year secured up to $1.6 billion in U.S. government support. So this is kind of mind blowing. Let's just take that let's take that sentence apart. Okay. So what does it mean to secure 1.6 billion in US government support to mine tungsten in Kazakhstan? Where does that money come from?
Well, it has to be from like the Department of Defense or something like that. I mean, I don't know the specific details of what departments, but it's a source. You know, it's a source. They're trying to find critical metal sources. It's a worthy goal. It's a worthy goal to do that, but I don't think it's a worthy goal to have insiders like Howard Lutnick and Trump's sons positioning in these companies to benefit from it. That's just corruption.
So they got money from the U.S. government. Was that part of a line item on a budget bill, or?
Well, I think it's a long-term contract to provide tungsten.
Right.
From this mine. So, I mean, it's fairly straightforward. Yeah, they bought the tungsten from this mine. And I guess one could argue, well, Trump's sons are just real smart at the critical metals market, and
Trump's sons are not that smart.
No, they anticipated this. No, they got tipped off. You know, take a position in the stock, merge it into this Kazakhstan, you know, create a shell company, and then absorb this other company, and then, you know, there's no value yet, and then you create the value by getting this big contract, which allows the mining to continue, because you know the key with these commodities is price protection, because you can build a mine and then all of a sudden China comes and dumps tungsten on the market and wrecks your whole operation. That's been the pattern. So they're trying to get around that by giving long-term contracts to miners where they can get guaranteed a price, and that way they can put the CapEx and do the development of the mine and not have to be concerned about China pulling the plug. That's what these transactions are about. Not necessarily corrupt per se, but it opens the way because of the need to secure these minerals to corruption.
So let me ask you a question. Let me read this next paragraph. The deal would expand the Trump family's sprawling business empire, granting the U.S. president's sons a stake in a company that insiders hope will sever America's reliance on China for metals used in munitions and other defense products. Okay, so on the one hand, clearly the Trump family is benefiting from this deal, right? And some could label that as corruption, right? Like they're not getting the deal. Like people gave Joe Biden a ton of shit because when he was in Ukraine, right, he was able to leverage his position to get Hunter a contract with that was Yukos or whatever that gas or oil company, right? Like when he was there, he said, all I got to do is make a call to Barack and I'll make it happen. You know, by the way, you need to get your, attorney general off my son's case, right? And that all happened.
Yeah, that was corruption too, but it's kind of a different scale.
Right, different scale, but it still happened. And there were people who were on the right who wanted Joe Biden impeached for that, even though he wasn't president at the time, right? He was vice president. He was using his position in order to secure and expand his wealth through his son, power and influence.
So
what is the difference here?
Big difference. The scale.
With scale, I mean, it's the same principle.
The scale is much Hunter Biden's mistake is that he dabbled in art, inflated art, instead of really making the big bucks in cryptocurrencies and tip-offs of tweets, because Trump's on social media tweeting all the time, and they've got completely conditioned by his tweets, where you can vacillate, create a lot of volatility in the oil market that you can trade if you get the advanced word of one of his tweets. They're doing that, and Barron is definitely involved in it. So kids have made a lot of money on trading.
We're going to get into that. We're going to go down a rabbit hole. Let me ask you one more question about this. So we've determined that with Hunter Biden, on a much smaller scale, it's corruption, and people were really angry and upset about that.
Yeah, it's hypocrisy to be angry about that. Exactly.
Right. And here's the but, right? It's this sentence. It's the last sentence, which says the deal would expand the Trump family's sprawling business empire, granting the U.S. president's sons a stake in a company that insiders hope will sever America's reliance on China for metals used. See, that's it, right? When people read that, they're like, well, good, right? We're going to get over on China, right? We're not going to have to be so reliant on China.
Yeah, the whole critical metals things is very, very real need for the country.
Right.
Because the problem is that if let's say you build a mine, like a copper mine, they're just huge capital investments, and you do a feasibility and you base it on some price of copper, let's say $6. But meanwhile, I mean, copper's not really a real good. That's just one example, but let's say tungsten, which is used for the military.
Right.
You start your mine up, and all of a sudden, China is dumping the product on the market, manipulating. So China is a manipulator, particularly of these rare metals and that are smaller supply. You know, there's not huge amounts of tungsten around the world. There's certain sources of it. So you tip off Trump's sons. I mean, the giveaway is the shell company that they use.
Well, what I'm getting at here is the moral justification to allow the corruption to occur because it's screwing China. That's what I'm getting at, right? And that people are much more willing to look the other way and just say, well, that's how business is done. This is how politics has always been, but at least we're getting over on China, right? Do you see what it's like? There's this subjective kind of denial approval. Like, it's okay. They can get rich off it as long as we're getting over on China.
Yeah, right. But why Trump's sons is the question.
Because they happen.
Why are they even involved?
Because they happen to be in the right place. But again, as long as it fucks over China, all good, right?
Yeah. I mean, who knows if these deals even work, if they could even get this stuff developed. That's another question. Okay, so the other one is just up the page there. Scroll up the page. It says, little businesses annoyed Neo-Caligula Trump. And just listen to what he says.
Hold on, let's do this.
So this one's located, lurking behind the curtain, right above that.
Okay.
On your DM.
I'll give you 1 second here. Is this the one with Barron Trump and Howard Lutnick?
No.
Okay, got it right here. Yep. All right, here it is. So this is on your website, winterwatch.net, which people are more than welcome to subscribe to and get the RSS feed. So
he gets thrown a little bit of a curveball by a reporter. Just the way he reacts.
So this is Max Blumenthal, Donald Trump Jr., and Laura Trump hold a 30% stake in Salem Media, which is registered.
Okay, that's another story. Okay, we can cover that. Go ahead.
Okay. Eric Trump's company has merged with an Israeli drone firm, and Don Jr. Boy, these people are making moves, man.
Damn right.
They are
in major industries and very much related to defense.
Wow.
Defense and surveillance.
The Israeli AI-powered killer drone company that recently merged with Eric Trump's construction firm says their drones are so easy to operate, even a child could do it. Note the adult female reporter crashes the drone into all the air. Let's play this.
I think you're frozen. Robert, can you hear me?
Yeah.
You're frozen.
Oh, I don't know why. Hold on. Let's try it again. All right. One more time. Here we go. All right. Can you see that?
No.
It's weird. Hold on. Let me get rid of this. There it is. Okay, it's shown up now. Hold on. All right. You should be able to see it now.
Wow. So really, anyone can do it. Kids.
Anybody can do these drones, you know. Okay.
An Israeli company using AI-powered drones to carry out high-risk missions without putting operators in harm's way.
We've been battle-proven ever since we started. Bad actor inside a building. Traditionally, you had people around the building, someone going inside, walking between the rooms, holding guns. Using the extend solution, you have a swarm. You have, let's say, 3 drones. One can fly above the building, one drone can break into the building, and another drone can actually go inside and scan the rooms and find the bad actor. These 3 drones can be controlled by basically a soldier or a security guard that doesn't have to physically be there.
Extend recently announced a $1.5 billion merger with US-based JFB Construction, backed by Eric Trump, forming a NASDAQ-listed autonomous robotics company, Extend AI Robotics.
Flying the drone is extremely simple and easy. Everyone can fly it within minutes.
Okay,
so we use this controller. It's called an MNF controller. It stands for Mark and Fly. And this is how I control the drone. Just point and the drone goes.
The thing is, you know, a company like this,
oh my God.
A company like this really needs to have marketing
The future of warfare
and
is
contact with like police
AI at the edge,
departments.
allowing
And
these drones and robots to actually operate at the edge, make the right decisions, or stop when they need to stop when things are not going in the right direction.
And straight to the right.
Wow.
Okay, so we saw the whole thing, right?
so think of the marketing on the inside that you need to get this product out there. They're not the only one making drones. And so you have Trump involved on the U.S. market to open the way to police departments and, you know, the different government agencies to just flood the market with these Israeli drones. That's big.
Oh, it's huge, and I've covered this before. Steph Curry from the Golden State Warriors is a significant investor in a number of these companies, and I believe including this one. And the thing is, when you listen to that, what does he talk about? He talks about the bad actor, right? The bad actor. And the whole premise of this industry is that we live in a world of constant terror, threat, and danger, right? And it's only these sophisticated applications of technology that will be able to help us feel safe and secure and solve all those problems. So they're framing the world as a dangerous and violent place. That
terroristic, all these terrorists out there.
Yes. And it's like, it is mind blowing, right? Like they are creating a false reality where people are being conned into believing we need this technology in order to keep the bad actors away. I mean, why is this not discussed more?
Yeah.
Like, it's like Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution. Well, the problem is there's a lot of bad actors out there. The bad actors are really the ones that are creating.
One could argue is those 12 Secret Service agents we saw smoking and joking there in the lobby.
Yeah.
Could all be replaced by 2 or 3 drones like this. They could all be replaced. It would probably be much more efficient.
Oh, they'll be replaced by robotics. I guarantee you.
I mean, that's probably the reason they had that. One of the reasons they had that ridiculous false flag.
They'll be replaced by robotics. So that's an Eric Trump-based company. Well, isn't that something?
So the one I want to really hit on is Trump's comments about small business.
Okay.
It's called Little Businesses Annoy Trump. Okay. 1:59. I sent it to you. 1:59 p.m.
All right, hold on
your DMs. That's what I got to start giving you as the timestamp.
Let's see. StreamYard, 1:59 p.m. Let me do this.
See it?
I just refreshed the page. Hold on. It says post unavailable. Let me see what happens when I click on it. Yes, it says this page doesn't exist. Is that on your website?
Yeah, it's there. I just clicked it.
Okay. Is it under news?
It's around the web, April 28th.
Okay, I'll find it. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right, April 28th.
It's April 26th. April.
News around the web. All right, here we go.
Little businesses annoy Trump. So it's May 1st. News around the web. May 1st.
Okay. There it is. Got it. All right. Coming up. He's never liked small businesses.
Apparently not.
He can't be bothered. Okay. So little businesses annoy Neo-Caligula Trump.
This is an interview, and she asked her about tariff relief for small businesses, and here's his response.
Are you considering tariff relief for small businesses?
Why do you always mention that, you pick up a couple of little businesses? What about the car business? They're going to make a fortune because of the tariffs. Do you know that the union, the head of the union, who was no fan of mine, Sean Fain, I guess his name is, right? He didn't endorse me. The Teamsters did. A lot of people did. A lot of unions did. But he didn't. He couldn't stand me. Now he's saying, wow, what Trump's done for the automobile, I can't believe it. I assume he's going to probably now say the next thing he can say is, I endorse this guy. He's the greatest I've ever seen. He can't believe it's happened. He said, we've been waiting 4 years for somebody to do what Trump is doing. So why don't you mention the big car industry instead of mentioning somebody that's doing strollers.
Well, I'm asking you about small businesses. Are there any discussions about giving any relief to small businesses?
They're not going to need it.
Okay.
They're going to make so much money.
Are these?
So is that a whole trickle down theory? Is that what he's referring to? Like,
I have no idea. I mean, the guy's got an IQ of 80. He sounds smart. And he sounds like he's so really sure of himself. But the problem is the costs are really skyrocketing. And so, I was just seeing a story on Molson Coors, which is no small business, no little business. But they've lost 9% of their volume because of higher glass costs. They've had to kind of reduce their runs and the access to glass, and wait till the aluminum thing hits. That's going to affect a lot of small manufacturing.
No, Trump has never been a fan of Main Street. He's never ever once signaled, except for maybe during COVID, where there was some bailout, right?
Small business is 47% of the GDP, 47% of employment, and 44% of GDP.
I think if every small business in the country could be replaced by a box lot corporation, Trump would be happy. He would be thrilled. Because for him, bigger is better, right? The bigger the operation, the bigger the building, the bigger the company, right? For Trump, it's size that matters. That's what it comes down to.
Well, what matters is donations and political money. The people that can really write the big checks.
Size matters, right? But it's always been that way.
Or people that can really cut good deals for his cronies and buddies and family.
There is a great documentary that I really advise people to watch. It's a sports documentary, but it does involve Donald Trump, and it's called Small Potatoes. And it has to do with these guys who were hired on as camera and production people at a very young age for the United States Football League, known as the USFL. And Trump had been kind of cut out of the ownership club in the NFL. He wanted to own an NFL franchise. And they didn't like him. They didn't want him to have an NFL franchise. And at one point, he made a ridiculous claim when the Dallas Cowboys were for sale. And they were for sale for $50 million. He said that they weren't worth that much. Well, look at what happened. Those franchises exploded. Anyway, he gets involved with the USFL, and he gets this franchise, and they're the New Jersey Generals. And at that time, the USFL had a summer schedule, so it wasn't competing head-to-head with the NFL. And they had kind of mapped out an interesting strategy. They actually had a media partner, and NBC was broadcasting, or it was ABC. ABC was broadcasting USFL games. So they had a major media partner. And then they started to poach players from the college ranks and also the pro ranks. So they're creating this very interesting competitive model at a different time of year. And there was this one guy named John Bascom. And Bascom was a Canadian who had eventually bought a franchise in the South. I think it was the Tampa Bay Bandits, right? And John Bascom was friends with Burt Reynolds, and Burt Reynolds was kind of part of the ownership group. And John Bascom was a really good guy, and he was the voice of reason. And Trump comes in and he just starts spending money all over the place, right? Like he signs Herschel Walker, who was an underclassman and a great college player. And he starts to sign a bunch of really competitive professional players. This is around the time that he's dating Marla Maples. And he is set to make Don Shula the coach of the New Jersey Generals, right? This is a big fucking deal because Shula at that time was at the top of the heap in the NFL, won a bunch of Super Bowls. And Shula, to seal the deal, said to Trump, I want a place to live inside of Trump Tower. And Trump wouldn't do it, right? It's like you're going to get one of the greatest football coaches of all time.
So he didn't really want to pay anybody for what they were worth.
All he had to do was give him.
He's just cheap, or what? What was his strategy?
He wanted to win the deal,
okay.
Right? He wanted to win the Shula deal. So then what happens is that Trump starts to create shit. He starts to stir shit up, and he says that we should start playing a fall schedule and take the NFL head on. Right. And Bascom is saying, no, leave well enough alone. We have a monopoly in the summertime. Right. And what happens to Bascom is he starts to succumb to brain cancer. So he's the one guy who can stand up against Trump, and he dies. And then once he dies, Trump takes the league over, and he convinces the league to play during the fall.
And then the league trashed, right?
Total collapse and failure.
Yeah.
Right. So Trump decides that
85 IQ just gets a hard on some concept, and then
well, check this out. He decides he's going to sue the NFL for antitrust. Right. It's a big case. It's a big case, and Trump wins the suit. And guess how much he's awarded?
What? $2?
$1.50. So he actually gets a check for $1.50. And when these guys were doing all the videotaping during the days of the USFL, Trump remembered them, and they talked about him pretty fondly, right? Like, oh, he was always really nice to us, and he was cool to us. And then they went back after all this had happened, and they did an interview with him, and they asked him, do you regret like moving the league to the winter, fall, taking on the NFL and losing? And he said, no, I don't. It was always small potatoes, right? Small potatoes. And that's how the interview ends. He says, thanks, guys. Thanks for stopping by. I'm real busy. Got to go. See you later. And so when I saw that, it's like that encapsulated everything about Trump, right? It was like that league in his mind wasn't the NFL. That league was small business. It was Main Street America. And for him, ultimately, it was small potatoes.
Okay, next one. On April 25th, Neo-Caligula commutation and pardon racket.
Okay.
Around the webs.
All right. So April 25th. Okay, there we go. Break this one down.
He sells pardons and commutations. And if you click on the link, there's a list of them, of people he's pardoned. Some really nasty characters.
Stop.
I think if you click directly on that.
Okay, pardons.
Anyway, it's okay. There's just a list of a bunch of criminals. Most of them aren't really household names that he's pardoned. A lot of them are Jews that he just collects money doing these commutations and pardons. Big part of his business model.
So how does that work?
Well, I think that basically the lawyers handle it. The money changes hands.
So where does the money go? Does the money go directly to Trump? Does it go to a holding company? I mean, where's the paper trail in all this?
Well, that's why you have lawyers.
Let's see if we can do a list of. We can figure this out real fast. Of Trump pardons. We can do this fast.
He's got it on his tweet there. If you can get through the tweet.
Okay, so first term pardons, second term pardons. Trevor Milton from the Nikola Corporation, CZ, Zhengpeng Zhao, Todd and Julie Chrisley, the reality TV stars, Devin Archer. He pardoned.
Yeah, a lot of them are kind of celebrity types. But you'll notice he doesn't really do that many political pardons and commutations.
He pardoned Hunter Biden's former business partner.
Okay.
He pardoned Michael Milken.
Right.
Charles Kushner, of course, Jared's dad. Interesting. I think that's a small sample size of all that. Let me see what else we have here. Clemency grants, 24 pardons. This is going to be okay. Let's do this. Let's share this. This is from 2025. You got Ross Ulbricht, the Silk Road guy. He was pardoned. Terrence Dale Sutton, murder, second degree conspiracy, obstruction of justice, aiding and abetting. Andrew Zabaski, conspiracy, obstruction of justice, aiding and abetting. Let's see. Joan Bell, conspiracy against rights, FACE Act. Coleman Boyd. Joel Curry, conspiracy against rights, clinic access obstruction. Jonathan Darnell, Carolyn Davis. Eva Edel. What else? Chester Gallagher. There's another one. Herb Garrity, conspiracy against rights, FACE Act. William Goodman, Dennis Green. Are these a lot of people that were anti-abortionists? Is that what these people are?
I don't think so. I think it's just kleptocracy type stuff.
You see, interference with freedom of access to reproductive health services. A lot of this is like abortion clinic stuff. Jay Smith, Paul Vaughn, Bevelyn Beatty Williams, Calvin Zastro, Eva Zastro. That's all in 1 month. You got Blagovich, Gene Pinkard, conspiracy possessed with intent to distribute controlled substances. That's a drug dealer. Brian Kelsey, a conspiracy to defraud the United States. Thomas Edward Caldwell, tampering with documents or proceedings. There's your Devin Archer pardon. Here we go. March, man, he went at it in March. Look at this. Benjamin Dello, violation of the Bank Secrecy Act. Gregory Dwyer, violating the Bank Secrecy Act. These are like bunches, right? These are all bank secrecy pardons, and then you had a bunch of abortion obstruction pardons. Trevor Milton, wire fraud, Samuel Reed violation, Bank Secrecy Act, HDR Global Trading Limited. So that's like a blanket pardon for the entire corporation. Arthur Hayes, we got Jason Galanis, securities fraud guy, Aussie Media. So there's a lot of dirty money pardons here. Carlos Roy Watson, Michael Fiore, Paul Walchak, willful failure to pay trust fund taxes, Scott Howard Jenkins, James Callahan. Man, look
busy
at all
guy,
these
yeah.
people. Holy shit. The Grizzlies.
Here on May 28th in one day, 16 people and 5 corporations. One day.
This is crazy. Larry Hoover, narcotics conspiracy. Use of persons under 18, age 18, distribution of coke. Well, there's some fucking criminals in here, man.
Yeah, and how does this conduit to Trump? You know, what is his motivation for even considering a pardon other than payola? I mean, does he do the research himself and seek these people out and say, oh, there's been injustice done here, I'm going to commute their sentence? I mean, there's no way he would have intimate knowledge of all these cases. He's being fed through a network.
There's a lot of pardons going on.
Yeah, it's a network of attorneys and legal people that are feeding him this stuff. It's got to be.
Wow. So a lot of money crimes. Look at all these people introducing misbranded drugs into interstate commerce, healthcare fraud. Wow. Daryl Strawberry. Hey, look at that. The straw man got a pardon.
Yeah, well, maybe that's deserved.
Who else? Daniel Gentile, security fraud. This is crazy, man. Tina Peters, Zechariah Benjamin. Okay. A lot of drug stuff here. Jacob Deutsch, conspiracy to commit mail fraud and wire fraud. I mean, this is a really aggressive schedule of pardons.
Somebody makes a comment. He did, my buddy BB Rebozo, he didn't pardon Kushner. He made him the ambassador to France. No, he actually pardoned him first. Then he made him ambassador to France.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, look at this. Another company, Elite Diesel Service Incorporated. So the entire company got pardoned.
That sounds like mafia. Probably a lot of mafia
Jamal
stuff.
Lewis. Didn't this guy play pro football?
Yeah, there's some celebrity stuff in there.
Jamal Lewis used to play for the Baltimore Ravens. Man, geez.
And you don't really see too much media coverage of it. You're starting to see the insider trading media coverage. That's starting to get the attention of the media.
Do you want to jump into that real fast?
Well, the insider trading is largely based on his Truth Social tweets that he's tipping people off.
So one of the things I've talked about are how Howard Lutnick's kids made all this money off the tariff stuff.
Yes. What a coinky dink.
Do you want to explain how that happened to people?
Well, they sold these vouchers. So the idea is that they bought I don't know what the mechanics are. They basically both bought the rights to get the refunds of the tariffs if the tariffs were overthrown. He went through all this drama to implement these tariffs, and then the courts basically threw it out, made it so that, and then they collected the tariffs in the interim, charged the consumer for a lot of it, went into the hands of these, and then they have this reversal, and there's a derivative that allows these Ludnick's kids to get the tariff refunds.
They get $2 on every refund, right? Isn't that what it is?
I think the payoff was something like 4 to 5 times their original investment in the voucher.
Right.
So they created a derivative to profit from the tariffs if they were ever reversed, and that's exactly what happened.
They were basically betting against the tariffs, and they were essentially buying like securities so that when the payments of the tariffs went out, they were actually able to profit off.
Yeah, they picked the refunds up, not the consumers that paid the tariffs in the beginning or the middlemen. They're out of luck. It's just these Wall Street types, this Cantor Fitzgerald Jewish firm, of Jewish insiders.
Right. So Howard Lutnick no longer employed by Cantor Fitzgerald. However, his sons are.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But they're basically they're making bets on behalf of their dad for sure.
Of course they are. And
then their dad's feeding them the inside information on the tariffs because he's intimately involved in them, and he has a good understanding of the odds of these things actually going through.
He knows.
Apparently they thought the tariffs wouldn't stick, even though they were the ones implementing them.
He knows exactly where it was going to go and how it was going to go down, and like this dog don't fly.
Yep.
So invest in this direction, and you'll do.
Yeah. What a tawdry, sleazy operation.
But as long as we're getting over on China with the tungsten, it's okay. Right? As long as
by sheer quinky day, Howard Lutnick is next door neighbors to Jeffrey Epstein. What a quinky dink that is.
Yeah, we don't have time to go down that rabbit hole, but
I think we already have.
Yeah.
That's why you need to stay with our podcast, because there's institutional knowledge that gets built up for everybody on these conversations we're having.
What's wild? I was looking at the stats for my various shows because I'm trying to figure out where I lose people, because I lose people, right? Like I'll gain people and I'll lose people. And one of the things that struck me is that whenever I have you on the show, I gain new viewers, and I actually lose people at the same time.
Yeah, we're weaning them out.
And I'm like, oh, look, I got 30 new people from that show I did with Russ.
I look at it as we're just weaning them out and building an elite following. That's the way I look at it.
And the same day, I lost 15 people.
Here's Huckleberry. Hucklebuck says, did the judges get a cut for ruling against the tariffs? That's a fair question. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but that's how my mind works too, Hucklebuck.
Yeah. I would say we are living, like there's always been a level of corruption in America. We are living in the most naked version, the most naked and venal version of corruption of any other time in this country. It is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. Yep.
And just so everybody knows, we only went through about half of these corrupt dealings.
And let me ask you this question, Russ. I'm curious as to where you're going to land on this. A lot of people think that the left hates Donald Trump, and they just can't wait to eviscerate him and get him out of office. And I actually am pushing back on this idea. I think the left actually really likes Donald Trump for a couple of reasons. What do you think about that? That the left is actually maybe more invested in Trump.
Well, he's become universally so unpopular that it doesn't really matter. It's just all across all spectrums. I can't even understand why 34% would still approve of the guy.
But don't you think that they for one, number one, right? if they're still playing this bullshit two-party politic game, which we know there's just a uniparty, but if they're playing that game, then they love Trump because he's destroying the MAGA base and the conservative base. They love him.
That's true.
And the longer he's around, the less work they have to do in order to tear that down.
Yeah, so like got to be a lot of Schadenfreude for sure.
Yeah,
but you know where I'm interested in is all the people I've been talking to that really are the right. You're not, I don't really appeal to leftists. I don't know, maybe I do now, but the people on the right that I've tried to convince of some of this stuff has really been a hard fight. And there's still people just trying to linger on to this cognitive dissonance that they suffer. I mean, I was just noticing, and I noticed the comments on the last show is just every time there's a couple people that just say I'm wrong about Trump or saying something like that.
Well, look, I'm going to cut people a little bit of slack here, right? Because I think that, like somebody left a comment the other day because I said that every time I watch Patrick Bet David, I feel like I need to take a shower. And then they made this comment that the reason you do that is because Patrick Bet David is Christian, he's positive, and he believes in America, right? And it was like the inference is that I'm negative, I'm not a Christian, and I don't believe in America, and none of those things are even true, right? But that was the reason why. And
the common denominator of all the people that get this that I use, it's a very simple concept, is noticing the noticer. You are a noticer. I am a noticer.
Yeah.
The people on this board are noticers. So that they really have to resort to ad hominem nonsense. They really do. Label you as this or that.
PBD is a total fraud.
I mean, I've been called a traitor by some people.
I think Teresa, like she really nails this here because the default setting is, well, would you rather have had Kamala? Like it's a false dichotomy, but that's always the default setting.
Yeah, that wasn't my selection. Kamala was not my selection that I put forth to the American people. So I bear no responsibility for that whatsoever. I didn't vote. That's all I could do. And then when Trump came into office, right away, I started hammering on him. But yeah, this lesser of two evils stuff, and you're not patriotic, and you're a traitor, those days are gone. I mean, those arguments are just really false, shallow. They're false.
I tell you what's really interesting, and maybe we can end this on a positive note, is that I'm starting to watch certain elements from the so-called left and certain elements from the so-called right. They're starting to come together, and they may not believe in the same social models, but they're agreeing on a kind of a foundational basis of truth. I'll give you an example. The Young Turks, who turn a lot of people off because they have been very leftist, they're starting to come around and sort of praise Tucker Carlson, whatever you think of Tucker Carlson, right? You had Jimmy Dore, who was a big Bernie guy, right? Jimmy Dore can't stand a Democratic Party now, but he's also not a dyed-in-the-wool MAGA person.
Those people you just mentioned, I put them in the anti-kleptocrat category. They really don't like kleptocracy.
So then you're seeing people from the right divorce themselves from this kind of fake patriotic movement because they're realizing that they were sold a bill of goods, and now they're starting to congregate and have these conversations, and they're starting to show up on each other's shows. And this never happened. Like 5 years ago, these conversations weren't happening.
Right. Right.
And I think this is really interesting. Like, this is where this thing needs to go, right? People may not agree on the social model, but what they do agree upon is the fact that they're witnessing bullshit, illusion, and lies, and they're essentially agreeing on what those look like, and they're having talking points now that are
they're noticing. They're all noticing the same things.
Yeah. So anyway, I find that to be an interesting byproduct of what's happening now.
Stick with the noticing. Now they try to gaslight you on that too, although it's not very effective. It's kind of stupid to even listen to the gaslighting the noticers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a very strong anti-kleptocratic movement and the realization that there's this little band of bandits that's manipulating, controlling these things and determining events and trying to profit off of it. They're just bad people. They really are. It's just, I mentioned my dad, stone opposite of my dad that I was talking about earlier in the show, because he came from a very poor background.
Yeah.
He always felt a little bit embarrassed about his wealth. He really did. He certainly didn't try to go out and, get more. He's the opposite of that. And those kind of people are pretty rare.
Well, he came from
that rubbed off on me. It's kind of the way I am.
Yeah. So in reality, you're filthy rich, but you dress like a longshoreman.
Right.
You've got us all fooled.
I think my dad was thought to himself, "What have I done to deserve this?"
Well, I think people that come from humble means, I think that they almost feel as if it's an egregious insult to flex your wealth, right? I mean, I get it. I understand it. I completely understand it. So your dad had the right stuff. You got anything else, Russ, before we get out of here?
No, that's good. We got a full 2 hours in, so we'll pick it up next month.
Okay. So if you want to find more of Russ's material, check out winterwatch.net. He updates it frequently. You'll find the news around the webs, which we sampled a great deal of today. And Russ, you enjoy your time with your family, and we'll see you a month from now. Okay.
All right. See you, everybody.
All right. There he goes. The one and only great Russ Winter, winterwatch.net. I will be back on Sunday night, and God, we got a lot to cover astrologically. Uranus and Gemini, I've been talking about it for a while. It's finally here, and we can get into that in great detail. And I'm also going to really dive into the David Wilcock phenomena. We'll take a look at his chart. And I have a lot to say about not just David Wilcock, but David Wilcock represents a very significant shift in terms of what I would call savior consciousness. And I don't think it's a coincidence that David was a Pisces and that we went from Neptune and Pisces to Neptune and Aries and Saturn and Aries. And it was almost like David's passing represented the end of an age where we project onto people savior-like qualities, and what we're left with is ourselves. And I think that's very reminiscent of this Aries energy that we've been initiated into Like, it is up to us, folks. Like, we're the ones, right? So I'm going to get into more of that, and it'll be a pretty, I think, extensive show, and really laying out the new paradigm, and in a lot of ways how David's passing represents the old paradigm. And I hope you'll join me. And I'll do my best to be as respectful to David as possible. But I also feel like we have to demystify. I believe there's a demystification process that needs to take place here to have a really good, hard look at what we have bought into and what we still continue to buy into at the sake of facing some version of reality. And I'm not saying that there isn't something beyond this that is hyper real, that allows us to tap into the highest dimensions of who we are. And by the way, these are discussions that David Wilcock did have. So I need to point that out. It wasn't as if David didn't have a foot in that world. He did. And at the same time, it's time for us to be able to demonstrate that in our own individual lives. So we'll get into more of that on Sunday night. In the meantime, happy May Day. Go out and be Victorian and fertile and get into it. All right. We'll see you on Sunday night. Bye for now.